Welcome to Life in Red.
I am absolutely delighted to be welcoming Laura to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I've been so excited to meet you. I feel like I already know you.
we associate on the Twitterverse, which a lot of my guests have, but I specifically went and found you because I am trying to grow my knowledge and grow my, allegiance to the women's game of hockey. And so when I can't even remember how I stumbled upon Grindstone, which is an organization I'll have you touch on here in a second. I went to tried to follow people who are on that team because I want to familiarize myself with the things that are happening in that side of the game as well. So how, Grindstone, tell me a little bit about it and how you got involved in this mission.
Yeah, it's a bit of a long story, but I'll try to keep it as quick as possible.
Take as long as you want. That's why I love podcasts.
Well, okay. So a few years ago, well, first of all, Grindstone Award Foundation, essentially we provide grants to girls to play hockey who otherwise couldn't afford to play. Hockey is super expensive, as we all know. And so our mission at the end of the day is try to get more girls on the ice and remove those financial barriers for them. So we provide financial grants, of course, to cover registration. And then just this past season, the NHLPA graciously donated 25 sets of equipment to us as well to provide to girls to play. So we very quickly came to the table with this whole suite of options for girls and for their families to get on the ice. So a bit about how I got involved with Grindstone. So a little bit of a sad story. So I play hockey here in Hamilton, and I run a women's league. And one of the coaches in our league, who was my coach, his name was Bill Needham. And he was an amazing guy. He was a scout for the OHL, super involved in the community, loved women's hockey. His biggest fan, or his favorite player was Tessa Bonham. And and a few years ago he passed away. And so when he passed, the team and I wanted to donate somewhere in his name, of course. And coincidentally, like you, I was on Twitter and came across that the Canadian Women's Hockey League was doing this event with an organization called Grindstone. And so very, very much so just stumbled across it and thought, oh, this is pretty cool. They were doing some on-ice stuff with some girls in the Markham Thunder. And I thought, you know what? I wonder if they need money. So looked into them and thought, oh my goodness, when I saw that their mission was helping girls play hockey, I just thought, oh my goodness, Bill would have loved this. He would have just been so ecstatic that he could help these girls play. So I went back to the team and it was all hands up. Yes, we're doing this for Bill. So we made a donation to Grindstone in his name, which helped 2 girls play hockey. We donated $1,000 to Grindstone. So that happened, and a few months passed, and I kept on seeing things pop up, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, of all these amazing things Grindstone was doing. And it was one of those things where I just kept on thinking about it. Kept on waking up going, oh, Grindstone, oh, look at all the fun stuff they're doing. And it was one of those things where I just started thinking, you know what, I'm not done with this. There's something that's pulling me towards Grindstone. And so I put up my hand to volunteer, got in touch with their founder, our founder, Danielle Grundy, and she was super welcoming and just said, yeah, come on as a volunteer. We're looking to build out in Ontario because historically Grindstone, so it was founded in Kelowna, BC, and we are very well known in BC and in Western Canada, and had not yet had a presence in Ontario. So she kind of gave me that mission of, well, what can you do in Ontario? So got a team together and we called ourselves Team Ontario and just started working here, going to tournaments, just trying to get ourselves known in the community. I'm one of those people that I have no fear talking to anybody. So I immediately went out to Hamilton girls hockey, Ancaster girls hockey, on Oakville girls hockey, and just started having conversations to build awareness. And so I did that for about a year, just was so bought into the mission of Grindstone, and unfortunately our founder had to step away, and that was right before the pandemic, and we had been going a while without a leader. And for everybody out there that is used to having a leader, and you just realize that it's so much better when there's somebody leading the charge, like when somebody's not delegating, not assigning tasks, like nothing's really happening, right? And pandemic happened, and I was stirring, just going, you know what, like, why not me? Maybe I could do this. Maybe I could lead this charity. Let's see what they think. And so I approached a board member and just said, hey, I'd be interested in putting my name forward and applying. And the board at the time loved the idea and voted me in. So it's very much this all happened because it was a why not me situation. And I just decided to put myself out there, and here I am as president, and I've been in the role now for about 1.5 years, and things are moving. It's exciting.
Yeah, I've absolutely loved following. I'm new to kind of finding out about this. It's only been a couple months, but I'm such a fan of this organization and the mission that you're on. Before we get into kind of women's professional league, what's the state of the women's game in terms of like youth? I have 2 young sisters who just started playing hockey. They started last year, but obviously the pandemic and everything got shut down again when we went back into lockdown. So this is the first year they're really kind of playing, and they're able to play some games, and they're having a lot of fun. But I look at the league they're in, and I'm just outside the Ottawa area, and they literally have to travel like an hour and a half on a weekday night sometimes to play a game. And they're like 8 years old. It's like, like, I didn't even really have to do that as like a competitive hockey player.
Yeah.
I mean, across the country, I'm sure it's different everywhere, but is it growing? Is it shrinking? What are we seeing in terms of the game? Because what you mentioned off the top is it is not cheap to play hockey.
Yeah, no, it's not. But I can assure you the game is growing. Girls hockey has just been booming since the 1998 Olympics, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, there's data out there that shows that the registration for girls has just been increasing year over year. And, with the rise of more women's hockey leagues, the interest is just climbing. But to your point, there's different regions across Canada that are excelling faster than others, and each association that I talk to is in a different situation. So for instance, if you have these leagues in the GTA, there's so many teams that are very close to each other, so travel may not be as crazy. But I've heard from applicants before, well, in the applications, they say, we're looking for this grant because the cost to travel to hockey is insane. There's kids in Alberta who, for instance, maybe come from reserves up in the north, or just towns that are way out of the cities, and they've told us that they're driving hours per week to hockey, and so the travel is nuts too. So it just depends on where you're at. I'm assuming that the registrations kind of vary across the country, but definitely in the cities it's booming, and I think that's all thanks to the PWHPA and the PHF being more visible to girls to play.
We've definitely seen an increase of that this past year with in terms of visibility for the women's game. And I know when the Canadian Women's Hockey League kind of folded and we were a little unsure of what was going to happen, it's been nice to see that, companies like TSN and Sportsnet and even ESPN now to an extent, and NBC before that are featuring these games and featuring these women on a large platform. We're still really not close to that, like where it should be, but we're getting, it's moving.
Yep.
In terms of like the women's game, can you explain kind of like the scene of it right now? Because you just mentioned 2 leagues. I know for people who don't follow it closely, it might be a little confusing. Like, why are the Olympic teams kind of like seeming playing in one league and then there's another league, and like what's kind of happening? and just like I guess, a very like Cole's Notes general
Yeah.
version of the state of the game in terms of
Yeah.
like the professional level.
I'll try to explain the way that I understand it as a fan. So as you mentioned, there was the Canadian Women's Hockey League. That was a really exciting league. I love to go watch those games and those championships. A lot of those players at the time were national players, Olympians. It folded, and essentially what happened from there was those Olympians and those players came together and said, enough is enough. Why do these leagues keep folding? We need to band together. And historically, everybody knows about the Canada-USA rivalry in hockey, right? So those players actually came together for something different. They wanted something different. They wanted a sustainable league. So they formed the Players Association to start that process, essentially. In the meantime, towards the end of the CWHL's existence, the National Women's Hockey League had formed. And it was, as people know it to be, the first professional league to exist in the women's hockey landscape because they were paying their players. From what I understand, there was a little bit of a stipend for the Canadian Women's Hockey League, but may have not been official, or I don't know the facts behind that, but essentially the National Women's Hockey League was the first professional league. So that's where you get the National Women's Hockey League, who is operating as a full-blown league. They have games, they have playoffs, they're building from scratch. And then you have the PWHPA, who has been doing a showcase tour. They are trying to build awareness for women's hockey. They are trying to bring in more investment, more media coverage, as you mentioned. Women's hockey is starting to become a little bit more visible, but it's still not where it should be. It definitely could become a lot further, but those are essentially the two. There's the one league and then the Players Association in women's hockey right now.
This is, I'm not asking for opinions or anything, because I know it can be a delicate kind of conversation in terms of sponsors, everything like that. But I think even this week, the commissioner of the PHF, formerly the NWHL, Tyler Timinia, did speak out and say they need to find an answer soon. And I know Jana Hefford, the commissioner of the or at least the president, I'm not sure exact title, but the PWHPA. There's been a lot of talk. You've heard Cassie Campbell mention it a lot. You've heard prominent figures in the women's game mention it, that they need to find one league. And right now it doesn't seem close. And I mean, I don't expect any of us to know the exact reasons why, but I mean, do you have any insight, or at least from things you've heard of just talking to whoever, that why there seems to be kind of this two leagues and we can't really seem to come together in a way?
Yeah, from what I've seen, I think it's a case of the PW is done with just the basics in hockey, a basic salary, basic benefits. Actually, I don't even know if there are benefits that exist in women's hockey right now, and they want more. So I get it. I understand why there is a difference between them right now, and unity may not be the answer at this point. It's time for something different. And I think that's what the PW stands for, is they want a sustainable league where they don't have to work extra jobs. And currently, as it seems with the PHF, is the players do have to have that side job. And I'm not sure if you've seen the social media campaign, No More Side Hustles. And so that's what the PW is trying to fight for. And currently, if they came together, I think it would be that the players would have to have side hustles. And you know what? It's interesting. I was thinking about this landscape yesterday, and when the first Olympics that I really understood what was happening and the whole concept of gold, silver, bronze was the 2002 Olympics in Salt Lake City. And because I was a 12-year-old player, I played rep, I went, like, I watched the games with my teams, had my favorite player on the team. And it's sad to think that it's been almost 20 years and nothing has changed. And so I think that corporations need to start putting their money down on the table and offering a solution. I think there's been a lot of campaigns trying to raise awareness, both by the PHF and the PWHPA, but it doesn't seem like anybody's ready to actually put that dollar forward. And there's been some sponsors of the PWHPA that have put down significant dollars already. Secret being one of them. They've put down, I think, $1 million. But I think it needs more for this to be sustainable, and so that's what I'm ready to see, that significant investment. And I think corporations and those big investors out there, I think it's right. I think it's coming. I feel like it's coming. And so I'm waiting for that big announcement.
Yeah, you're totally right. And it's the most interesting thing, because if you look at where we're at in terms of the landscape of pretty much everything in our social and cultural climate of corporations, changing their logos and putting rainbows on it, or posting something about Black Lives Matter, or talking about, on International Women's Day, making like a graphic being like, we support women. And, in terms of this idea of raising awareness, I'm a mental health advocate. I raise awareness all the time. It is great. We need to raise awareness about a lot of these things, but you're so right when it comes down to put your money where your mouth is. And in terms of what I look at, like, as a marketer, as a person who works in branding, and I'm not sure if you do that on your side, but as a president of an organization, why wouldn't you not only want to make like the dollar investment to grow something you care about, but the PR you could get, the goodwill from consumer, like, it, to me, it seems like a no-brain, like, financial investment for any company. And I can't understand why someone won't step up, or many companies won't step up.
Yeah, there's such a huge opportunity right now for corporations and for people to get involved and to really lead the charge on this. Whether you invest in one league or the other, I think there's a huge opportunity here to really make a difference. And, with Grindstone, when we receive the applications from families and from girls every year, we read them all the way through. And a lot of the girls, when we ask them a question of like, what are your hockey aspirations? And a few of them really don't know. They don't know what's out there. Right. And, or some say, oh, I want to play in school. So I take that to be university, college, but it almost seems like they think that that's the max. That's the farthest that they can go with hockey. And unfortunately, that's how it is perceived for a lot of people outside of this immediate women's hockey community, right? Because it's not very visible. Even the PHF is not very visible. They're starting the process to get more visible, I guess, through ESPN and larger ownership deals and investment deals, but it's still not quite there. And I think it's time for people to put their money where their mouth is. And I would love to see that for at least the girls in Canada that we support and will support in the future.
Absolutely. Like, they deserve it, because they're just as hardworking. And like you kind of mentioned, and I don't think a lot of people realize this, again, if you're not totally following the league, that like, imagine, I mean, and I guess you kind of do it to an extent where you probably have a full-time day job, and then you're doing all this stuff on the side that you work. And I know, I remember like when they do like the Olympic profiles or at the World Championships, like, it's like, oh, so-and-so, like, pretty much one of the greatest hockey players, also police officer by day. Like, could you imagine trying to balance, like, most of us find a hard time finding balance now, but especially some of them raising a family, working full time, and then trying to train as a professional athlete and an Olympian. Like, pardon me.
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine. And one of my Grindstone colleagues said this to me this past week, that nobody really knows how well women could do in professional hockey because they haven't had the opportunity, right? Ever since I was a kid, since they were a kid, right? We don't get the same ice time as boys.
Mhm.
We don't get the same facility as boys. We don't get the same hockey opportunities as boys. And so if that were to suddenly change and girls do have the same hockey opportunities as boys, you can only imagine what that's going to grow to. And so that's what it goes back to investment. The time is now to invest because this is only going to grow. Like the ways that fans access media now is so different. People want a personalized experience, right? There's going to be sport betting in the future. There's such an opportunity right now to just say enough is enough. Let's do this now. And to see women fully get the opportunity, the same opportunity as men, I just think would be incredible. It would be so eye-opening to people to say, wow, like these women really have had a chance to train, to develop, and look what they can do with the same resources as men.
Yeah, it's so true because some of the best women hockey players like had to go play boys just to get the ice time and, you know, like you said, like access to all the things that are provided for the men. I remember playing Jamie Lee Rattray as a kid in tournaments.
That's funny.
It's funny, and like I'm a goalie and she was a player, and as we were growing up, like she would skate around everybody, like it was ridiculous. And I remember she scored on me quite a few times. So I always like to say that I'm like, oh, I've been scored on by an Olympian.
But she's pretty good.
Yeah, no kidding. But it's so true. And you hear this common argument from idiot trolls on the internet that, oh, well, you know, they can't get the same type of investment as men because, you know, they don't have the fan. People don't watch it, like, you know, and it's, you look at the game, it was Canada USA, that was the World Championships, that just, I mean, I want to say a month or two ago. Honestly, time is gone in my brain, but it was recently. And it was like millions of people are watching this game. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, because the point I always try to make is when I look at what TSN did for the World Juniors, they turned this tournament that no one really cared about into this like cultural Canadian phenomenon. Like from December 26th on, like everyone in Canada is almost glued to this tournament. And that was just from this promotion. I was like, why could you not you could do that with the women's game. You're not showing it, but you could do this if you really cared and wanted to make it work. You could make it work. And it's been proven time and time again for all these big games. The people will watch. Millions of people will watch.
Oh yeah. Like, well, as you mentioned, it was a record in Canada for those who watched the game. So that was super exciting. But I think media, along with investors, I think media really need to catch up and do their part. And one of the things that frustrated me so much is, so Canada and the US have started this rivalry series. So you go on TV to watch the first game, and I'm going through the TV guide, and it just says women's hockey action. And the channels around it say CFL, Ticats versus Argos, NHL, whatever, who versus who. And you're like, women's hockey action? Like, that's all you could put. You couldn't put Canada versus US Olympic rivalry, or something to do with game one to indicate that this is a series to generate interest. And it was so frustrating just to think that all these women are out there and they're playing so hard, they're prepping for these Olympics coming up, and they got women's hockey action. Like, my heart just sunk for them, because I know how hard they train. Like the Canadian team is all centralized right now training. They're over in Finland competing, trying to get better. And I think that's just an example of the media needing to get on board with this and really showing their support. Because in situations like that, it really shows that it's not there yet, and it needs to be. Somebody needs to catch that before it gets put onto every TV guide in Canada.
Yeah, we get the bare minimum, and people are like, yeah, you got to be good with that. And like, look at us, we're supporting the women's game and like
Oh,
literally
yeah.
doing the bare minimum when it comes to that. And you're right.
Yeah.
These are not like, I mean, I'm sure most people would rather watch like this game than like Arizona Buffalo on a Tuesday night, like
Exactly.
these are big games. Like you said, they are prepping for the Olympics.
Yeah.
And anyone who's watched these two teams, like this rivalry is ridiculously like fierce. And
Oh, yeah.
USA was kicking our ass for a bit, but now recently we're like coming back and we're beating
Yeah.
them. And like it's gonna come to a head at this Olympics. And
Oh, yeah.
it's and anyone who's watched this, I'm sure you agree, especially 2010 and 2014, those two gold medal games between the two were some of the most dramatic, best hockey games
Yeah.
I've ever watched in my entire
Yeah.
lifetime.
Exactly. And so many people just like you rant and rave about them. And I look at the games that are coming up in Kingston and Ottawa. Sad to say I won't be in Ottawa, but I'll be in
Oh,
Kingston though. I'll be
well,
in
I live in
Kingston.
Ottawa and I'm going to Ottawa's game.
Yeah, I'm driving up for the Kingston game, and it was so cool to see it sold out in 2 days. 2 days. Like, and
Amazing.
that's in Kingston. Nothing against Kingston, but I mean, like, I can only imagine that it wouldn't have even lasted 2 days in Toronto or another city. But like, it just goes to show how much support there is behind the professional players. And so I really hope that this momentum continues. Because I mean, you did mention, yeah, PHF was in the news this week, and part of me is happy that women's hockey is in the news. Like, it is so much, you go on Twitter and it's all women's hockey, and you go now the news on my phone every couple of days, there's some sort of update about the PHF and starting their season and the rivalry series and such like that. So I really hope this momentum can continue.
Yeah, the appetite is totally there. It's
Yeah.
absolutely the consumer market, the app, like it. Well, actually, funny enough, you're talking about being frustrated about TV. So I went to buy the tickets for Ottawa, and like
Mhm.
the link didn't even work for like the first 5 days. I was
Oh, that's frustrating.
like, would this happen? Like, would this happen if it was
Yeah.
something else? Like, I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe it was just a glitch, but we're cynical now. It
Yeah.
truly, it's like it's hard to believe people have sometimes the best intentions when it comes to this.
Yeah.
And I'm like trying to support. I want to get my tickets, and thankfully I did. And it was almost sold out, I think, by the time when I was looking at tickets. But like it's little things like that the details that would never be missed if it was like an NHL team
Exactly.
or the Olympics men's team
Yeah.
doing a tour. Like that shit would never happen.
Exactly. Exactly. That's why I think we can all step up when it comes to women's hockey, and just that's why I try to promote it as much as I can, friends and family. My neighbor next door, he's a cutie. He always comes over and asks me about hockey. How's hockey going? What's up? What should I be watching on TV? And so I always tell him when Canada and US are playing, and he'll come over, he'll wander over and be like, did you see that goal? Oh, okay. Like, there's interest there. It's yeah.
Not to mention, like these tickets, like I think it was like $25 a ticket. Like
Mhm.
if you're a family, which we already
Mhm.
know, we've talked about, like I don't know if you've noticed, life is real expensive these days. And
Yeah.
if you wanted to take a family of four to like an NHL game, it would cost you like 150 to 200 or $500, like depending where you
Yeah.
wanted to stay.
Yeah.
Whereas like if we gave access to games like this, like the
Mhm.
women's game, like it's a much more affordable experience for like a family to go out and enjoy the sport, enjoy hockey. And if we're talking about growing the game for everybody, like it's
Yeah.
such an opportunity.
It is, and but I also think it's a way, there's an opportunity there to demonstrate that people are willing to pay for women's hockey.
Yeah.
So as much as, yeah, it's affordable in quotations, you know, it's also, how do I want to say it? like, so tickets are $25. How much would you really be wanting to spend on women's hockey? Like if I said, okay, there's a Canada USA game coming up, and there's no price value, how much would you pay?
I'd pay the same value I would on Sense tickets. I don't usually go above $100, but for like a game like this is a game I'm super genuinely excited for. Like a must see for me. They never come to Ottawa.
Surprised.
Women never come to Ottawa. It is annoying. They always go to Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal. No one comes to Ottawa.
Well, yeah. But I was surprised to see the ticket price so low, because the quality of the product, the women on the ice is so high. And I think it's time to start raising that. And obviously they want to make the games more accessible. But how long can you do that for? Like, I think out there, once there is a league that is able to sell tickets at a higher price, I honestly think that they could get easily $50.
Yeah.
Like $50 a ticket. People would pay
100s for sure.
Yeah.
Like there's no question in my mind that's like, what is, like, if you want to go to Toronto and see a Leafs game, I don't know what they're probably like $300 to sit in the 100s. Like you can absolutely.
Yeah, I tried to get Leafs tickets last weekend and it didn't go so well.
Yeah, thankfully Ottawa, like no one wants to see the game, so there's always tickets.
Yeah.
It's bad. My question for you is, we've talked about all this potential, and I totally agree with you. Do you see it happening? Can you foresee it happening at this current rate? Or do we have to, be activists, like even more so, to try to put the pressure on companies and media to make it happen?
I think we're going to have to put a little bit more pressure on. I think right now there's some good stuff happening. There's some really good campaigns happening. Budweiser just did this awesome statue this week. I don't know if you saw it. But when I saw it, I thought, finally, there is a statue that represents the other half of the game. Like, so I think right now we're in this phase where we're filling gaps. We're building awareness, as we say. And I think it's just going to take one. I think it's going to take one corporation or one big investor, say a Drake or a Justin Bieber, coming in and really putting some fire to this. And I feel confident about the celebrity model. I just think it's so cool. I don't know if you know much about Angel City Football Club. They're starting in LA, and they are a women's soccer team that's going to be playing in the National Women's Soccer League, and they haven't even started yet. They don't even know who their team is, but they've their owners are Natalie Portman, a bunch of other celebrities who have come together for a cause and have put their names behind it. And now this team is getting so much sponsorship, so much traction, and they don't even have a team yet.
Wow.
Like, it's hilarious. So I have this feeling, I don't know if you saw the tweet the other day, when Drake, or it was Instagram, Drake went on Instagram and said, "Where's my Toronto WNBA team?" And how much traction that got. Like, it was everywhere, made the news, and I want somebody so badly to tweet the same about women's hockey.
Yeah.
Like, if a Justin Bieber or somebody who is a hockey fan, but also knows that women deserve this, can send out something, I honestly think, or put a little money behind it, I think that's going to be the answer. I think it's going to happen. But I think, as I said, we've got maybe a little more to go on the whole selling the solution and identifying the gaps for people. But I think it's there. It's going to happen.
Yeah, it's so interesting because, I mean, from the research I've done and I've heard, it seems like both kind of organizations are waiting for the NHL to step in, and that seems to be like the one they want to make the investment. And don't get me wrong, the NHL, I mean, should, and if anything, right now would be a great time after the absolute shit show their brand is facing. But the celebrity model is definitely interesting, and I'm trying to even think, like, I can't even off the top of my head think of a celebrity who actively talks about or participates in this game. Like the women themselves who play are the celebrities, right? Like Kendall Coyne,
Mhm.
or Marie-Philippe Poulin, and you know,
Yeah.
they're the ones talking about, like, I can't think off the top of my head of like a celebrity,
You make a good
whoever.
point. Yeah. You make a very good point, and that's a gap. That's a huge opportunity there for to really propel this forward is, yeah, awareness. And yeah, it's sad. Now I'm thinking like
I
I can't
know.
even think of some.
And like I like to think that I'm incredibly plugged into the hockey world, not only
Yeah.
just men's hockey, but the women's game. And you know, I'm on Twitter a lot, and
Yeah.
I could be missing someone. If I am,
No,
please
I
tweet
don't
at
think you
me.
are.
But
Yeah, I don't think you are. You know, I get the whole waiting for the NHL. It makes sense. NHL is the league that's in place, but I think there's an opportunity here to be really unique. And I don't think that the women, I don't know, like, do they need the NHL? Like the NHL, like so much has happened in the last couple of weeks that has exposed the culture. And is that really the only option?
it's a good
And I
point.
don't mean to say sound negative, but is that the right move? Is there another option? And that's why I throw out the celebrity idea.
Mm-hmm.
You know, could it be fans binding together and creating an ownership structure that's
Mm,
fan based?
mm,
Like now that shit is unique. That,
mm.
like, I don't think that's happened before.
Yeah,
Like how
that's
cool would it be for a corporation to go in and say, hey, we'll match whatever fans put into this. We'll co-own the league. That'd be cool.
yeah. I
That would
mean,
be worth writing a story about.
they I mean, in one form or another, they kind of do that with like arenas because it's tax dollars, but
Yeah.
that's a really good idea. And you know, I was just kind of thinking as well, like, do you ever listen to 32 Thoughts with Jeff Merrick and Elliot Friedman?
No.
Um, I mean, I listen to so much Jeff Merrick in a week. It's incredible. But so the hockey podcast, obviously, and
Mhm.
they've had Tyler Timini on, and they do a pretty good job for the most part.
Yeah.
But what I was just kind of thinking is when I there was this idea that they're talking about, especially over the summer, where former junior hockey players sometimes have this dream where they want to own a junior hockey team. And
Hmm.
why, when we talk about the celebrity model, like why wouldn't an NHL player want to own a women's team? Why would they not want to make that investment with a couple other players? You know, you see them wear the shirts, which
Yeah.
is great. It's great. I would love to see it, but do you want to help even more? And maybe, you know, Mitch Marner, Austin Matthews, and Morgan
Yeah.
Riley, do you want to own a women's
Pool
hockey
your
team in
money.
Toronto?
Yeah.
And go, you know, maybe that I mean, that's the celebrity. They're hockey players. They're world known.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not the world. The NHL does a pretty poor job of marketing stars, but we know the hockey community knows. And I think for a lot of, unfortunately, for a lot of men, and especially old school men, like that's almost like the endorsement you kind of need to push
Yeah.
that along. You know, it's
Yeah.
a sad
Yeah.
reality.
I
But
don't disagree with you. I think there could be an opportunity there to pool together. Yeah, because who better than male players who know the type of experience that they've had and need to be successful. And so I can only assume that they want the same for their female counterparts.
it's the same idea of players going to the Olympics in my mind, that when you grow the game, you grow everybody's game because you
Yes.
create new fans in, right? They're not mutually exclusive. If someone's going to
No.
be a fan of the women's game, they're going to be a fan of the men's game. And
Yeah.
you know, if you want more women to love hockey, and, you know, not even women, like, you know, you look at the LGBTQ plus communities and
Yeah.
the communities that have traditionally been underserved by, and not only that, exploited and often abused by the hockey culture. You know, if we can create something that really pulls them and makes them a part of it, truly makes them a part of the
Yeah.
community. Like, you want to say hockey's for everyone, like let's truly make it for everybody, because that will
Yeah.
really grow the game for everyone.
Oh yeah. 100%. Yeah, I think there needs to be some action behind these. The hockey is for all, hockey is for everyone. It's definitely, it's so true, and hockey needs to be more inclusive. Like I can only, like growing up, I had a friend on my team who came out as gay and immediately left the team.
Oh,
Like, okay. Like that would never happen today, because like there's, at least in the Hamilton area, it's a bit better. I can't speak to other associations and such like that, but you know, I think times have changed a lot. But it can definitely be better.
yeah.
Sure.
Do you know who Dr. Cheryl McDonald is on? I don't know. I follow her on Twitter. She was on my podcast before. Same with
Yeah.
like Brock McGillis.
Oh yeah, I know Brock.
So same, like she's a researcher in this, but we were kind of when she was on, we were kind of talking about, you know, how it's 2021 and we were seeing so much diversity in terms of the rest of the world. And like we just had our first, I mean, Brock McGillis was the first, but like NHL prospect person in the pipeline of the NHL. Logan Mayu come out like in 2021, like that was the first.
I know.
Like, it seems so weird.
Yeah, and it's crazy that it's news. Like obviously I'm excited and happy that more stories are being shared. I think that is so helpful, is to share those stories, but it's crazy that it's still news, breaking news. And so I hope we get to a place in the future where it's not. But we'll get there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we will. And I love that there's so many people pushing now and people speaking out against it.
Yeah.
As a hockey fan in general, like where are you at with the game right now? Because I know, especially with the NHL, I mean, it's hard to be a fan. Like I still love hockey, but it's hard to be a fan right now. Do you feel the same in any way?
Yeah, I do. You know, when Kyle's story hit a few weeks ago, I was shocked, because I think I live in my own bubble when it comes to hockey. I've always had really good experiences, really great coaches, really good teammates. And when his story came out, when he shared a story, I was just shocked that that could even happen. Like, what wasn't in place, or what was going on at that time? Because, you know, everybody looks at the NHL up on a pedestal, right? And it's the best league ever. Everybody's treated so well, and the NHL has been doing all these campaigns, and everything from the outside looks really great. And then you see those pictures surfacing of a couple of guys hoisting the Stanley Cup, and you see so and so is gay written in the background, and you're like,
yeah,
that's the culture of that team. Like, why did nobody walk by that whiteboard and like rub it out? Like, why did that even happen? And so it was surprising, just because I've never really understood the culture of the NHL, and maybe it's different today, maybe it's not. So I was definitely shocked.
yeah. I know there's quite a discrepancy in terms of the man's game and like the women's game, because I mean, the women's game is quite inclusive, and they have not only openly gay players, but trans players, non-binary players, and it's a much more inclusive experience in terms of the diversity of people who are playing.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I think it's because like women have always had to adapt. We've always had to adjust, welcome more people, because we ourselves weren't always included. And I think it has something to do with that. Maybe that's not all of it, but I think it's definitely some of it. And yeah, it's sad when you think about it, that it is that way. I really hope that the culture changes in men's hockey. And again, I can't speak for all of the women's culture, but I can only speak from my own experience. I know that there are players out there that have probably gone through similar experiences. But yeah, I think it's just because we've always had to fight. We've always had to fight for our right to be at the table, or fight for our right to be at certain arenas, using certain facilities, you know, getting the training that the Olympians deserve, you know. So we've just naturally had to, we've naturally wanted to welcome people in, to help, to, you know.
Yeah. I mean, like, personal little story on like how bad the men's game is. And I mean, like I said, I haven't played, and I play, but I haven't played like organized in 11 years now, which is makes me feel real old. But it was so bad as a teenager, just 10 years ago, like 2010, like playing junior hockey, that like the hazing, the things that went on in the locker room. Like, it took until the Me Too movement and a much more broader understanding of what sexual assault is, for it took me to realize that some of the things that happened to me and other players was sexual assault. And it was just so normal that you didn't even like, you didn't like it, but like, you just like were like, oh, like whatever, it's just what the older
Yeah.
players do, gotta get.
Boys will be boys.
Yeah. And even for me, and I'm sure a lot of other men out there, like, some of the things that happened that made us real uncomfortable, were like, oh wow, like, yeah. And it if you went to the person who may have did it, they probably wouldn't even remember. Like, it would, like,
Yeah.
it was just like what was happening. And I have a feeling it's maybe a little better, but I can't see it all going away. It's just, I mean, a lot of people would classify hockey as like homoerotic in a way, like the way some people act in the dressing room.
Yeah.
It's so I don't know where it's at today and how NHL
No.
players or anything do.
Hopefully there's better leaders out there these days, and coming into the coaching world and the staff world, who can really start to put an end to it, if it's not already happening, because nobody deserves to go through that. And yeah,
It's hard to find words, Stephen, like talk about. It's just, it's so upsetting, and so upsetting that we just have let it happen for years upon years and years. And we've had so many people come forward, whether it's Sheldon Kennedy or Kyle Beach. And it's just like, like, we're 2021, and what's changed? What's really
exactly
like nothing. And it's going back to that sponsor conversation. I don't want to call any companies specifically out, but they'll continue to support the NHL, but they won't invest in the women's game, no matter how much the NHL continues to just like, I mean, like, let things slide like this and have constant PR disaster on all these things. It's
and that's a little bit of why I'm here, why I am the president of Grindstone, is because I do believe that everybody deserves to be treated well, and I believe that girls hockey should have a path. Girls should know where they want to play in the future. I believe that women's hockey, that those women shouldn't have to have side hustles. I truly believe that there's something out there that we can be doing to improve the women's game. And I know I'm only in a volunteer position, to your point earlier. I have a day job, and so I only do this in my evenings for the most part, but I hope to make a difference for these young girls who want to be able to make a future of women's hockey. And if it doesn't start with me, then who, right?
Yeah. And that's what I mean, people like you who see it, and not only just retweet some things, which is great, but like to actually like not only offer to volunteer, but then offer to be president. I mean, I admire people like you so much, because you're the people who are on the ground making like a difference, like driving to Kingston to promote this. Like, to me, it's like amazing. It absolutely is.
Yeah, of course. And I'm kind of getting a little settled in Twitter. I have a bit more confidence than I used to. So that's what, when the women's hockey action was on TV, I had no issue tweeting the media going like, what the heck's going on over there? So yeah.
What sorts of things do you see the future of for Grindstone? Like what are I mean, you don't have to say everything that's on like, your actionable agenda, but what are some of the plans? What are some of the big things we can expect?
Oh, well, yeah, I can definitely share some stuff. Well, okay, so first of all, just a little background on our grants. So for the last 2 years, we've given out 25 grants per season. So each grant is $500. We've given out 25. But each season, we've had way more applications. So this season, I think we had 75 applications. The year before COVID was well over 100. So we had to turn down a ton of girls, unfortunately. And so the board and I are super we're really putting our heads down right now, making new strategies, trying to come up with a way to bring in more funds for Grindstone so that we don't ever have to turn a girl away. We don't want to take a girl off the ice due to financials, right? So a couple of things that we're doing are we are trying to find more people that have experience in grant writing, so we can apply for grants that we can bring in funds to hopefully employ some people at Grindstone. And so that should help move us along. We want to get involved with corporations. We want to build those relationships. We've seen a couple out there that are interested in female hockey, and so we'd love to bring them on board in a sponsorship capacity. That's ultimately where we're going. We've got a ton of events coming up. We go to a lot of tournaments, a lot of the Hockey Association tournaments, and we're joining the PWHPA on their Dream Gap tour this year in Canada. So this weekend I'm going to be in Truro, and we're going to have a booth there. And yeah, every time we go to a Dream Gap tour stop, we actually see an increase in applications from that community. So we haven't had a lot of applications from the East Coast, so I'm really excited to get out to Nova Scotia this weekend.
Go to Nova Scotia, but won't come to Ottawa. I see. I get it. It's fine.
Ryan.
That's amazing, and it's so exciting. And
lots of good stuff.
Yeah, and super important to remember that, like, again, when you're looking at organizations like yours, that like you're all volunteering on your off
all
time.
Of us. Yeah.
Like it's just, to me, when I meet people like you and people who do stuff like this, who try to make that change, like it inspires me, and I hope it inspires others and like motivates them to be like I gotta get off my ass, like let's go
and go do something.
Yeah, like it's just like it's great, and it's like amazing that you're getting all these applications as you go out, but like you said, that like sometimes you have to like turn people down, and like that's a devastating feeling all in itself.
Yeah, but we hope to get to a place where we don't have to. That's why we're putting in the work now, and I don't have a lot of evenings free because of that. But it's for girls, and building the pipeline, and so if you ever have some extra hours, we'd love to have you as a volunteer, Ryan.
We can chat. We can chat. Yeah.
Nice.
Absolutely. Because I would, like I said, right off the top, but I believe that and throughout this conversation, I think I've said my piece, that I believe the game for women I'm like right along with your mission. It's super important to me, and I'm not trying to like as a man like say, oh, look at me, because I'm doing it, but I think as with my mission of this whole idea of toxic masculinity, that unfortunately a lot of men need another man to tell them, or at least show them.
Yeah.
It's sad. I hate it. But I mean, you see the trolls on Twitter and everything, they just, unfortunately, they're just not there mentally and cognitively to make these decisions on their own. So I just think it's important to not only support it with money and everything, but openly support it.
Absolutely.
That's what's needed, to be like proud and be like, look at me, like I can support, you can too, type thing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we have a lot of male supporters actually.
Oh, amazing.
So it's, yeah, we get a few emails from time to time from men who want to support, and they're not always fathers. I think there's this assumption that in order for a male to march with an organization to do with females, you have to have a daughter, but that's not true.
Yeah. It's like when
So
people like say like, I have a wife or a daughter or a sister, like no woman deserves to be abused. Like it shouldn't, you don't have to qualify it by being like what your association. You could be like, everyone should just agree like that's the right thing to say.
exactly.
It's important also to know like you are a registered not-for-profit.
Yes.
So
We are registered not-for-profit in Canada. We are always looking for donations and also ways to get out in the community. So yeah, if anybody watching this wants to get involved with Grindstone, we would absolutely love to have you. Check out the website, grindstoneaward.com. All the information is there.
social media.
Social media.
I was going to give you the plug, but you're right on top of it. So
yeah, social media is at Grindstone Award.
Grindstone Award. Laura, this was a super treat for me. I'm so glad to have you and connect with you and have you speak on this stuff because super important. I love what you do in this mission. So I'm happy to chat about how I can help in any way.
Well, thank you, Ryan. Thanks for an awesome first podcast experience.
No one else can ever live up now.
Yeah, I'll never forget it. Awesome. All right.